Tatiana from the US, Tatiana Becker. Now, Tatiana has been in the industry for a while and specializes in helping business owners with that very important task of finding the right candidate to join your team. Welcome to the show, Tatiana.
Thank you for having me, Yokai.
Oh, we're delighted to have you today. And again, thank you so much for agreeing to share your knowledge around HR with business owners around the world now. To get us started, Tatiana, I know a lot of people wants to know what you've done, who you are, and what got you to where you are today.
Oh gosh, that's a pretty long and winding road. I actually majored in math and astrophysics. I got my degrees from UC Berkeley. I thought I wanted to go on and study black holes, but fourth year of school, I just wasn't taking the GRE like everybody else. And I found out, I think I just don't want to stay in academia. And I was sobbing in my advisor's office saying, I have no marketable skills. What am I going to do? Right. And it turned out that the programming I learned along the way was useful. And I ended up getting my first job at Microsoft writing C# test code for tablet PC.
Right.
But they moved us into Windows in 2004, 2003, 2004 timeframe, which, in retrospect was kind of the worst time to be on the Windows team. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to try something a little different for a while. And that thing that I tried was recruiting, because I always loved going on the college recruiting trips. And it turned out that was such a better fit for me than development. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had fun writing code, but I'm a much more social person, and I just love the art of matchmaking. I love hearing what makes people tick and what really gets them up in the morning. And so I've been doing that since 2004. After Microsoft, I left and got my MBA, and then I worked in-house at companies like AppNexus and Etsy in New York. And then after that, I was an HR director at a small e-commerce company.
Incredible. And after, something that happened during that time, you went on to establish your own company, which is doing extremely well. Talk to us about that for a moment.
Sure. So about 3 years ago, sadly, the e-commerce company downsized. They had me lay off half the staff, and then they laid me off, which was a huge heartbreak. And after that, it's kind of like, if you lose your dog, maybe you can't go get a new dog right away. I just felt, wow, I don't really feel ready to go work in a company right now. Let me start my own thing. And so I started my agency first by reaching out to people in my network. I was fortunate to know a lot of great people from my time at AppNexus and Etsy especially that had gone on to be VPs of engineering or directors of engineering at some of the best companies around New York. Or that started their own companies. So, from there, I built up a client base, and then word about us has spread, just word of mouth. So now we have a very strong client base, and I have 3 recruiters and 3 sourcers on my team as well.
Incredible. I love what you just said there, that your initial sales or your initial contacts were within your network. And then after that, the word of mouth took off. This is a learning point for every business owner in our audience today, that when you are starting something out, start right where you are, with your network, and then you can develop out there what is a great lesson. And you are working with some of the prestigious companies right now, Tatiana, is that so?
Oh yes, some companies that are household names, and other companies that I know are going to be household names very soon. These companies are A-list companies, mostly in New York, that have really amazing cultures, amazing products. It's that's what we specialize in. Like I always say, I would never send somebody to a place that I wouldn't personally want to work.
Incredible. I love that attitude there. It makes you very personally responsible and involved, and I think business owners love that as well.
We also try to visit 100% of our clients on site too, because there's so much that's intangible about a job. A job description is just a 2-dimensional sheet of paper, and there's so much that drives somebody to want to work somewhere. The people, the product, all of that, and that's the kind of thing that we get really by meeting our clients. And so for us, we feel like that's our special sauce, is that we're very, very hands-on with both the candidates and the clients. Again, because it's a matchmaking process, so much of our job is just listening and understanding, from the candidate side, what is most important to them in their new opportunity, and from a company side, exactly what that perfect person would be for them.
Incredible. Now, before we jump on to the nitty gritties of recruitment, which I know business owners are eager to learn about, I want to talk to you about your transition from being an employee working for another company to a place where you're running your own business. What sort of roadblocks or challenges that you had to overcome along the way?
Oh wow. Well, there's a lot. I mean, there's the procedural things like setting up an LLC and the corporation and doing the accounting and all of that that you never have to worry about working in a company. But mostly it's that you have to be 100% self-directed. There's nobody standing over my shoulder, asking me, "Hey, did you start at 8 a.m. today? What is your production for the day?" And so what I quickly learned was that I needed to find ways to hold myself accountable. And, with my math background, I'm very numbers oriented. And so I figured out, the best ways to track my numbers. And so I'm always looking at how many candidates did we submit to our clients this week? How does that look compared to last week? How many on-site interviews have we had? What are our ratios of offers to interviews? That type of thing. So I hold myself accountable, and I'm also holding my recruiters accountable to that. So I would say that's the number one thing when somebody is starting their own business. They need to create their own metrics for success, because I don't think that you can really be successful otherwise. There's some quote about, that in order to improve, you really need to measure something, and I truly believe that.
Absolutely. You can measure something that you can change something that you can measure. And, it certainly holds true in business. What sort of mindset that you had to adopt immediately when you transitioned from being an employee to owning your own business?
Well, I would have to say it wasn't necessarily a change in my mindset, because I think that I've always been an entrepreneurial person.
Right.
I actually used to run some coffee shops too. I owned them for 12 years. So entrepreneurship's very much in my fiber. But
Beautiful.
as far as running the staffing agency is concerned, I think the biggest thing is becoming more aware of the landscape on the whole. So
Right.
when somebody is an employee within a company, most of the time they're kind of insulated and they can just think about that one particular company's needs. But I need to have the bird's eye view of tech, to really see what are the trends, like what are, hot roles that are popping up, like what are the economic trends, like, so that I can let my client know, yes, I think we can find somebody at that rate right away, or wow, this is below market rate, so I anticipate this role could be open up to 6 months.
Right.
That type of thing, because we're not only providing a service, but we're also an advisor to our clients.
Incredible. I love the way you talk about this, because the passion in your voice, it shows that you are actually doing these things. Now, suppose you're talking to a business owner who is maybe in their first year of operation, they're having slight difficulties. What would you say to them?
Well, the first thing I would say is to keep your head up, because every business has difficulties in the first year. Like, if you don't, then you've just picked a business that actually probably isn't very interesting. So, first of all, I would tell the business owner that they need to start from day one knowing that they're going to have trials and tribulations. And, they're not going to know what those things are going to be. It could be that one day, thing A is going great and thing B is not, and the next day that could be totally flipped. So, for one, they need to stay very positive. There's a movie quote that says, "The submarine captain always knows what to do, even when the submarine captain doesn't know what to do." And I think that's true of really any leader, especially when you have people that are counting on you and reporting to you. You always need to have a game plan, and you need to be positive and realistic. And so when you hit bumps in the road, you need to be able to re-steer your staff, and they need to see that you have a really calculated way of going about it, so that they totally get on board. Not that you're all over the place and randomizing them, because then you're really going to impact the morale.
Absolutely, and it'll come back and bite you as well if you don't have a strategy of how you're going to be coming back.
Exactly.
Let me take you to the actual process of recruitment. I know that there are business owners here today who are looking to add a new team member in their organization, and they may want to come to to a company like yours. What can you tell them maybe in a process form of the thing they need to have in place that will increase the chances of success in working with a company like yours or in hiring a right person?
Sure thing. So we find that we have the most success with clients that have a really clear picture of the type of person that they want to hire and the responsibilities that person is going to have, and also that they have the bandwidth to be able to respond to that person in quick order. So, what I mean by those two things, it's really important to have a defined set of must-haves and nice-to-haves. Maybe you're going to be working in Scala, but that's kind of a newly hot language. Is it okay if maybe somebody has Java and they're open to learning it, or are you completely hard and fast that you need that? We can't go out and find somebody unless we know exactly the kind of person that we're going to find. We always ask people, who's your ideal person? Like, if you can share with me the resume of a person that you would really like to hire, we can go out and we can clone that person. So that's always really helpful. Understanding what the person's compensation and benefits are going to be like, because when we're talking to people, they let us know the ranges they're looking for. We don't want to waste anybody's time putting somebody all the way through the process only to find that there's a mismatch there. And like I said, they need to be able to respond quickly. So the best practice we find is getting back to the candidate within 48 hours of each step, because the best people go off the market so quickly. Also, it keeps the candidate experience great, and it keeps the momentum. When people first start talking with a company, they're so enthusiastic. But if a company takes too long to get back to them, that starts to wear off, and they may decide to go somewhere else or stay in their current role.
Incredible. You have covered 4 aspects very clearly, but I want to take you to the first one where you said they have to be very clear, have a clear picture of what it is they want. What are the likely problems that happens when a business owner is not clear of the right person to be joining their team?
Well, at that point, it seems like they're just trying to evaluate people based on other people that they've talked to. And unfortunately, that strategy we've seen time and time again doesn't work. If they're like, oh, we will know the right person when they walk through our doors. Unfortunately, the way that usually plays out is, they talk to 10 people and maybe they decide, oh, that first person that we talked to was perfect. But it's like, wow, that person you talked to a month ago, like, they've already started their new job. They're already sitting at their desk. Right. So they need to know how to evaluate each candidate against themselves so that they can quickly make a yay or nay decision, because otherwise they really are just going to spin their wheels on a lot of different candidates.
Incredible. Looking at the second one, which we talked about, that they need to know an ideal person, assuming that a business owner is doing this for the very first time, they want to go on to get your services. How do they go about coming up with an ideal person to join their team? Would you help business owners for a moment?
Sure. So, where both of these things, knowing the ideal person and having that sense of urgency, come from is that there is work that's going on that no one has time to do, right? Like, either somebody is working at 150% of capacity, or things are falling through the cracks, or both. So I would recommend that the business owner start enumerating those things that they want removed from their plate or from somebody